All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this month's edition of What's Your Plan? My name is Steve Lorberbaum. I'm the owner of Assisting Hands Home Care. I have with me Malika Moore. And so before I tell you a little bit about her, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me and about Assisting Hands. So Assisting Hands is a private duty home care company. What's that mean? We help people in their homes, wherever home is at the moment. Home could be a hospital, could be a rehab, could be assisted living. It could be a private residence or an apartment building. We even serve people in hotels. So we provide a little extra assistance for those folks that need it. We work all over Montgomery County, parts of PG County, and Fairfax County, Virginia. And so one of the things we like to do is help educate people by bringing industry experts in to talk about a variety of topics. And this month, we're really excited to have Malika Moore, and she's with Aging and Amazing, and she's a care manager. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Malika. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me on this Friday morning. It's just a great time of year for a care manager to be on What's Your Plan. So I am Malika Moore. I'm a clinical social worker in DC and Maryland. I've been working with older adults and family caregivers for about the last 11 years in this area. I love it. And so I founded Aging and Amazing in 2019. My business has two parts. We have the care management, which is primarily here in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And just to give you some context on care management, in case you don't know, I like to describe it as these scattered pieces. Whether it be healthcare, trying to figure out for yourself or a loved one what to do. A care manager comes in and helps you strategically and with knowledge and expertise put all of these pieces together. And occasionally there are missing pieces, missing puzzle pieces. And we do a very good job of replicating those missing puzzle pieces by bringing in the appropriate resources such as home care or physical therapy, whatever you need, and whether your loved one's aging in place in their home, moving to a community. And I like what Steve said, even if they're in a hotel, trying to figure out what's the best plan to make this happen. The other part of my business is we have an online community. And so glad that you're also in there, Steve. It has people from all over Canada, Jamaica, Oregon, DC, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, Alabama. And basically it's an online community for anyone pro-aging, family caregivers, or now we're saying care partners, and any professional specializing in aging. So you can be an attorney, a social worker like me, any profession that supports older adults. And it's really a place where we can come together, post resources, support. You'll find a lot of people posting some very personal things in there that they may not post on LinkedIn or Facebook. Why not? Because it's the perfect place to get the support you need. So that's a little bit about Aging and Amazing.
Okay, great. So let's focus first on care management.
Yes.
Because that's really what I'm gathering is you're like the quarterback for aging. Or the coach, right? You're the person with the resources.
Right.
So, give me an example of when you typically like to start working with a family, and sort of what's that process for helping guide them through aging?
Okay, I'm going to answer this one or two ways. So typically I would love to work with families when they're just thinking about it, when they see that things are starting to change and it's not to a point where they're in a crisis and we can plan together and say, hey, maybe we're going to need some home care in the next few months, or just start planning things out. That's not when we typically get calls. So luckily we're trained to answer. A lot of the calls that I get people are in crisis already, and they're trying to figure out what to do. Like, what do I do to help my aunt or my cousin or my mom who's aging? I work a full-time job. I'm raising children. I can't figure this all out. Help me get the appropriate people we need in there. So I think the best time to call is whenever you need us. We're prepared either way. I'll say that most of the calls that I receive are people who are either out of town or just in town and very busy. And it's a crisis situation. Someone is in the hospital, or the holidays. This is a huge time of the year where care managers get a lot of calls, I'll say now to the beginning of January, because people are visiting home, and you were getting those calls from your mom, dad, cousin, whoever your older adult is, saying, oh, I'm just fine. They've been saying they're fine all year, but you go in person and you're like, whoa, the medications are all scattered. Mom's barely walking. She's, the house is in disarray. She's lost weight, those type of things. So I would say, call us whenever you need us. We're there to help you plan and organize. Does that answer your question, Steve?
You did. Yep, absolutely. So what are the kinds of resources? Obviously, you've mentioned home care, but we're just a tiny component of what people need. So what are the other kinds of things? Do you help with doctors, money managers? So what sort of things can you help people get a resource for?
Everything. I say that confidently. We can, and I'm going to be more specific. Sometimes people don't know what resources they need. I'll give you a couple recent examples. I've had a few clients who were moving out of their home to an assisted living, and so they needed an attorney. Maybe they didn't have power of attorney documents in place, or they didn't have children. They needed to get those items in place with an attorney. They needed to sell their home on top of moving to the assisted living. So bringing in the appropriate, giving referrals for real estate agents, not only the home, what about the items in the home? So seeing if there are any things worth value, doing like estate planning sales, downsizing, those type of resources. And I like, Steve, that you mentioned the more practical day-to-day resources. Sometimes families need us to help them coordinate those doctor's appointments, get them to the doctor, or those type of things, or interview the home care agency. They may be thinking of more than one, like that type of thing. So I think any resource that a family may need or think about, we're there. Nutrition is a big deal. Sometimes people need home delivered meals, and maybe they don't want what the government's offering. They want another type of specific vegan or organic meals. So getting in a personal trainer, if they need a personal trainer, just any kind of resource that can, I like to say age well, but I have to bring my business in here and say age amazingly. So anything that anyone needs to age amazingly, we're putting together, doing an assessment, which is getting all of your pain points or things you need help with, and then a care plan, which is a map, because we use these words and sometimes people don't know what they mean, which is a map to let us know which way we're going to go to get it done. Sometimes caregivers will say, hey, Malika, I can do X, Y, Z, and you do the other half. Or they'll say, look, Malika, do it all, like just get it all done for me. So that's what care managers do. We meet you where you are.
Gotcha. And so how does someone get started with you? Obviously, you don't know these people. Right. So what's the process? Let's say I want to, get a care manager involved. I find you, and we'll get to how we find you in a minute, but I find you. And so now I need to know, what's your process? How do I get started?
Okay. Well, it always starts with a phone call. I typically get a phone call to say, hey, are you Malika? Are you Agent and Amazing? And we start there. And I do get a little bit of background information there. With Agent and Amazing, we also set up a complimentary 30-minute consultation. And I think that has been gold for me too. The family actually gets to set eyes on me. I get to set eyes on them. We get to talk. So it's not just over the phone. It's a little bit more personable. And then, I want people to shop around too. So our Agent and Amazing is not for everyone. So we may get in the conversation and it may be a better fit for them to go to another care management agency or something like that, which I appreciate. It's about goodness of fit. So first it would start with a call or an email. Sometimes I get text messages that say someone referred to me. We get the consultation scheduled. We also have a Medicaid planner on our team. So sometimes I get calls that need people that need Medicaid planning for people who are running out of money and need to get that together. So call, FaceTime, text, and I love doing the formal consultation
Okay.
virtually.
What does that mean? So you do a 30-minute free consultation, but that just scratches the surface.
Right.
That's a get to know you. So
Right.
What's the next step?
Mm-hmm. So during this consultation, you're telling me specifically a little bit more about your story. And from there, in my experience in working with older adults and family caregivers, I'm saying, okay, it looks like you're trying to relocate your loved one to an assisted living and you need help finding the appropriate assisted living for your loved one. Not only that, you don't have anyone to help you with the home, or if it's another scenario, they're trying to stay in the home and they're asking me, Malika, what do I need to do? I don't want to move out my home. What resources are available to make this possible?
Okay.
Then after that, we schedule an in-person. I go wherever they are. I go and I meet the person and I get to get a little bit more information. Oftentimes, especially if it's a long distance caregiver, I'm only getting a snippet of what's really going on because they're not there also. So I'm able to actually go in and see what's happening.
And how do you charge for your services?
So generally I have people meet with me one-on-one. We have one set price that we use for everything hourly, and it's prorated. So I go over the benefits. We talk about, I usually send materials over prior to the virtual consultation that show the value of hiring an aging life care professional. And we go through the pricing. So it's prorated. If I'm on the phone 15 minutes, that rate is prorated for 15 minutes, that type of thing. Then we go over the emergency hours. Like if it's a holiday or if it's midnight and you need me to go to the hospital because your loved one's fallen, we go over those rates and mileage. Those are the typical items we review.
Gotcha. And so you mentioned going to the hospital, but one of the things we get calls for from Assisting Hands is, can our aides go take somebody to the doctor and listen in and take notes? And that's not what we do. We can take somebody to the doctor, but we're not note takers. We're not going to be able to convey information back to family members. Is that something that you do, that you can go to a doctor's meeting and call the family? Because mom always says I'm fine when she's not fine.
Yeah, that is something we absolutely do. So thank you for bringing it up. And depending on like the budget and what the family wants to do, they may say, hey, we want Assisting Hands to come out, take my loved one to the doctor. You meet them there. You meet them there and you get the notes from the doctors, let us know what's going on. But there are occasions where I take clients to the doctor, sit there. We use a system called CareTree. And so that's where we're coordinating all our notes, all of our resources for families to come together and have what they need to communicate.
Gotcha. Okay. And so let's say, my dad lives here alone and he needs some new pajamas. Is that something you would do?
Absolutely. Let me say this. We try to be a very good steward of finances because home care, health care is expensive. So if you just needed pajamas, I have a resource for an errand runner. They can go and get the pajamas for another price rather than the care manager going out to go get the pajamas. Depending on the budget, and sometimes the relationship, I'll have caregivers say, no, Malika, they want you to go because it's oftentimes not just about the pajamas. It may be that they want that social interaction when they get there. So I can go get the pajamas, but more so my first thought would be, hey, let me get this errand service to go. If you don't need it immediately, let's schedule, and she can go get the pajamas for you, and it'll be a little bit more cost effective. So we're always juggling what makes more sense because we want to be good stewards of funds.
So tell me a little bit about Aging and Amazing. So let's say I I have an initial assessment with you, and I say, okay, I want to sign up, but I really don't want to spend a lot of money on this.
Mhm.
Is Aging and Amazing a option for me to be a part of to get some knowledge without having to pay the full price? I mean, what's the value of it, and why be a member of that?
Is this the community or the care management you're talking about?
I'm talking about the community.
Oh, okay. The community, it's gold. So I try to price it where it's reasonable for people to access it and access all of the wonderful people in there, like you, Steve, and assisting hands. So it's pretty reasonable. I am a social worker. If there's an extenuating circumstance, I will just come to me, email us and let us know. But other than that, the funds really help us because next year we'll be adding support groups in there, and things to help the members a little bit more. And that helps keep it going. So I try to keep the price pretty low. What we have added is like sponsorships for companies, because it is a value of them for their family caregivers, where they absorb some of the cost of the membership, and automatically their family caregivers get access.
What's the value to somebody? Why, I'm a husband, I'm taking care of my wife who's 90 and I'm 91. What's the value to me? Why should I want to go log in and see what's available?
The value to you is, I always say that isolation is the enemy. So on this community, there are tons of people who may or may not, a lot of the professionals are also caregivers. So that makes it even better. You can go in there and get resources, you can get support, you can get guidance, or you can just be a fly on the wall. Like I have some people who just go in there and read, and it's helpful for them to get that motivation. Or if you're that 90-year-old or that family caregiver rather, that needs to post, well, what, my wife is walking in the middle of the night, I don't know what to do. You can post that right in the community, and Steve, you may answer and give this person support or guidance or something practical that they can do. And one, it takes that isolation out of the caregiving journey, because we know that a lot of times the caregiver passes away before the care recipient because of the stress. So it takes some of that out of there, and you have now some guidance. You may not be able to do paper care management, but this community is definitely there and accessible to connect you with people who care and the right resources.
Okay, so another question, can you fill pillboxes for people? Is that a service you can do?
I personally cannot, but we do have a nurse that we contract out with on our team. I'm a social worker, so I cannot fill your pillbox. I make a lot of recommendations for people to get like the bubble packs when it's appropriate. Those type of things, I can do that. But actually filling your pillbox, I will lose my license. So no, 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 no. But I do often contract with local agencies if we don't have a nurse on our team right now, to help me with anyone who needs nursing. Or I just may call and say, hey, let's get some home care in here who has that resource available. So it's plenty of options. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, and do you coordinate with hospice? Let's say, are you a person who might have that conversation with families to say maybe you should consider it, and then walk them through the process?
Yes, we do have those hospice conversations. My style is very much like, we're not the end all be all. So a lot of what makes us a great agency, what makes me a good care manager, is I know the right people. So it's about bringing the right people in. So I'm going to have that general conversation about hospice, especially I've had a lot of experience working in nursing homes and rehabs. So, and then I'm going to bring in the expert. Let's bring someone in that you can talk to more specifically about this. Maybe we want to explore different hospice agencies, and we can bring those in to talk to the person. A lot of times as the care manager, the hospice agency is there, but we also add that extra layer of support for families and the family caregiver to get through what's such a difficult process at times, emotionally at least.
So I know, we work with families, and a lot of times there are multiple siblings, and which means oftentimes they have multiple views of what should happen next with their parent.
Right.
Is that an area where you get involved to try to help bridge the gap and reach a consensus, or is that not a time for you?
That is always our time. That is always our time. That's not uncommon. I will say this, sometimes I have families who are embarrassed because I may walk in and there's this conflict that's been going on for years. And I try to like normalize it a little bit. Every family has something going. And I let people know for my own family, I would need a care manager. They're not listed to be. It's very easy to come in on somebody else's situation because I don't have that history of maybe dad didn't show for the recital when you were 4. Or, I don't have all of that context. But what I can come in and say, hey, here's the mutual goal that we're working towards. And a lot of times I notice with siblings, they have good intentions. They all want to make sure their loved one is okay, but it gets clouded by all of these other things that's happening. So I can come in and get through that situation. Sometimes siblings will only talk to me. They'll only put information in Care Tree so you can see what the other sibling is saying, but you don't have to necessarily communicate with them. There are extenuating circumstances. Like I said, we're very, very good brokers of resources where I've had to actually recommend hiring a mediator to come in so I can focus on getting the person together, like the loved one where they need to be. But that's rare, but it's definitely a resource that I keep on deck.
Gotcha. All right. So if I'm an out-of-town family member and I get the call from either my mom or from EMS that says, hey, we're transporting your mom to Suburban.
Mhm.
Can you go to Suburban? Like, even if it's in the middle of the night, is that part of what you do?
I'm slipping on some pants and tying my hair up in a ponytail, and I'm there. That's definitely something that we can do. And if I'm out of town, a lot of times I'll have caregivers say, well, what if you're not there? If I'm the assigned care manager, I have another social worker who covers for me, and we plan on expanding our team in the new year. So yeah, we're there any time of day. I know sometimes people say, can you describe care manager a little bit better? And they relate to, I say, well, it's like a paid family member, but we have knowledge and expertise and wisdom of the healthcare industry, all of this. Even if you have a caregiver who, say, is a nurse, it's so different when you're working with your own family. You just can't be objective a lot of times.
Right. And so do you keep track of, I know, we hear all the time about assisted living communities and about right now rehabs where, there were some rehabs that used to be amazing and now they're not because they've got staffing issues. Do you keep on top of that and can make recommendations to families? They're leaving Sibley, Suburban, Montgomery General, wherever, and they get a list of pick a rehab. Do you keep on top of, who's who and who's doing well and who's struggling right now and make those kind of recommendations?
I definitely keep on top of it. I mentioned briefly earlier in our conversation that I work as a social worker in a nursing home for 5 years. So I know it. I know the conversations that are being had. I know what we need to look for. I know the benefit of popping up for visits instead of announcing that you're coming at times. I know what you need to get your name on the face sheet, those type of things. And let's just be honest, since the pandemic, the staffing issues have been just ongoing. And the first year of my company, I had a contract in a nursing home. It's not where we want it to be. I always tell families, you may or may not get your loved one into the rehab that you want or the nursing home that you want. But what you do want is them to know that there's a presence. So when they mention Miss Smith, they know that, oh, Malika Moore is showing up, or Miss Smith's daughter showing up, or Assisting Hands is showing up, checking to see when the person's discharged. Those type of things go a long way, even if you're not in your place of choice.
Gotcha. Okay, so we've got 3 or 4 minutes left. And so what have I not covered that is impactful that you want to share with our audience?
I think just staying connected to people like you, Steve, and your team, Trisha and Patricia. If you don't know, what I've noticed is sometimes you just have to speak up and tell your story. Once you tell your story, most of the professionals I've connected with, they're going to put you with the right person or send you on that right path. So as the holidays come up, and just in general, I say that caregiving is something we're all going to be touched by. Either we're going to be the care recipient or the caregiver, or it's going to go in a loop. So speak up, tell someone your story, and they will get you to the right person. And know that it's all about goodness of fit. So find what's right for you and keep it going. There's always somebody out there to support. So I'm glad that you all are here.
So how do people find you? Right? There's a sea of people that do this, but how do people find you?
Absolutely. So you can call me 202-873-4252. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can find me, Malika Moore, Aging and Amazing. And you can go to our website, www.agingamazing.com. So email, call, text, whatever, call Assisting Hands, whatever you need to do to find me. I'm not too far. And even if I'm not the right care management agency, it's so many of us out here will get you to the right one.
Okay, so last question or two. So what's your area that you serve?
We go where the business is. So you call us and we'll be there. We're in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. My business is based in DC, but I do get referrals from pretty much all over. If it's too far out, we can't service it for whatever reason, there's a whole list of ALCA care managers, and we'll get you to one, a good one.
Okay, so you're a member of ALCA.
I am a member of ALCA. I love ALCA. So okay, we'll get you to
tell us the name, just
Aging Life Care Association, and I'm an aging life care professional with ALCA. So we have a whole listing. You can actually go on their website and find tons of care managers. I'm one of many great ones.
All right, excellent. Well, look, I want to thank you for joining us today. It was exciting to hear from you, see your passion and energy, and to learn a little bit more about care management and about Aging and Amazing. So this is our end of this month's edition of What's Your Plan. We'll be back next month with another true industry professional. So Malika, thanks for joining us today. We really learned a lot.
Thank you, Trisha and Patricia.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed it.